I'm going to have to start this video again. Something's occurred. Let me take us from the start of Tishan Doshi's The Deliverer. Our Lady of the Light Convent Carol. Oh yes, sorry. Firstly, the poem could be seen about the theme of family, other places, political injustice. In this poem, it's of women. The poem opens, the title, The Deliverer, could actually be a double meaning, which is savior, but also the one that brings the baby into the world. And here we'll see how both those things work. We're at a convent. The setting is a kind of, in South India, a Christian sanctuary. The sister here is telling my mother how she came to collect because they were crippled or dark or girls. Collect children. The speaker is talking about her mom, so already we're a step away from this story. We see this also in You, Shiva, and My Mom, that poem. And we get this triplet that's shocking. Crippled, dark girls. And they're the reasons that kids are thrown away. And each one is supposed to shock us more than the last. Crippled, disabled, dark, for simple chromatics of the skin. Dark skin is seen as lesser, as lower, and then finally girls being seen as useless. Each one is more brutal, more shocking. Found naked in the streets, covered in garbage, stuffed in bags, abandoned at their doorstep. We get these verbs: found, covered, stuffed, abandoned. Garbage emphasizes how they're thrown out, but it's really that word stuffed that I zoom in on, because it really implies the lifelessness, how these children are treated as if they don't exist, that they're inanimate, and that they're rubbish. One of them was dug up by a dog, thinking the head barely poking above the ground was bone or wood, something to chew. This is the one my mother will bring. This shocking image is horrific, of a baby being buried alive, whose head barely peeks out, and the dog, looking for something to eat or snack on, starts digging and discovers this child. And I think the image is utterly horrific and disgusting, but slightly comic, and you see that with the fact that the child is saved. So there's a kind of comic aspect to that horrific image that, for me, I see at play there. And, for those of you who would object to the comicness of it, I would say that because things turned out all right, there's a certain way that Tishan Doshi, is trying to describe this image. And I think she really strikes the tone there between horror and comedy. The star here shows a change, structurally it changes of setting and time. Now we're in America, and the parents wait at the gates. They are Americans, so they know about ceremony and tradition, about doing things right. I can't tell if this is sarcastic, because Americans aren't known for having a long tradition or ceremony, especially compared to Asia or even to Europe. It's such a younger society. But I can't sense the sarcasm here, especially with the phrase about doing things right. There's a genuineness here about the way this family is taking care of this child. They haven't seen or touched her yet. Don't know of her fetish for plucking hair off hands or how her mother tried to bury her. So we get linked right back here to the mother trying to bury the child. But we get this beautiful intimate detail of the child obsessing about taking hair off of people's hands. The word that sticks out in a little bit disturbing way is fetish for me. I'm a little bit uncomfortable with that word because it implies something obsessive and almost sexual. But I don't really think that's the intention. It's to really draw a portrait of a baby who has a personality already. But the contrast, the juxtaposition, and the undermining that happens immediately with or how her mother had tried to bury her, this reality of this child's life. destroys this. It kind of, again, horrifies, brings back in the reader's mind the image earlier. But they're crying. We couldn't stop crying, my mother said, feeling the strangeness of her empty arms. I love that strangeness of her empty arms. It's very poetic, noticing of an absence. She's been holding and caring for this baby, and here now, in this image, in this moment, we really get the sense of how much she misses her. And it's so hard to be a deliverer, to have saved a child, but then to give it to someone else. We get another change in setting and time, and we get to the end of the poem. This girl grows up on videotapes. So she doesn't. Obviously she doesn't. But it seems to the viewer, here, the mother, that she's growing up just on the videotapes, and the mother is seeing how she's passed from woman to woman, and she goes into an imaginary world where she envisions how this all started. She returns to Twilight Corners, and it's the speaker that's imagining what her mother does. And Twilight is these darkened corners of her imagination and her mind. To the day of her birth, how it happens in some desolate hut outside village boundaries. So this, isolated, hidden, dark place where mothers go to squeeze out life, watchbot, and slither. I mean, that's grotesque imagery. Squeeze, just push it out, just get rid of it, as if, again, it's a packet or something, or the woman's body itself is a packet that needs to be squeezed. And it's this clinical, dismissive way that is being shown here. But what saves the poem for me from being just some sort of Orientalist or racist kind of imaginary is the poet is imagining her mom's imagining of what happened. We don't have the actual experience of it. It's us reading about someone else imagining. And here, that's interesting to me, because what she imagines is that they feel really quickly in the dark, is there a penis or is there no penis? And if there's no penis, toss, that verb, as all the verbs in a really great poem do so much of the work, that throwing away, that lifelessness, heap, stack, it implies the quantity of how much, how brutal, what these women have to deal with, trudge, walk with a heaviness, and the weight of work, of birth, and they have to do this again. And it's the continuous life of sexual reproduction for the glory of male, having a boy, a man. And what the sadness, the twilight, the darkness of this experience really affects the mother and motivates her to, save these girls using the convent and passing these girls on and watching them live this vibrant life. And of course, it will make you cry and not stop crying, even though it's a moment of joy, because it makes you think of all these other moments where other children are lost.